The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Nothing like having a 150-pound Great Dane dropped on you when your bestie offs themselves. Good luck with that in New York, sweetie. Today we discuss The Friend. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
So it appears that I have several things in common with a Great Dane.
What's that?
Well, you can't get me to do something that I don't actually want to do, and occasionally I can hog a bed.
Yeah, that's actually a very astute observation. So, folks, welcome to Cinema IRL. Our film for this episode is The Friend. Iris finds her comfortable, solitary New York life thrown into disarray after her closest friend and mentor leaves her his beloved 150-pound Great Dane.
Yeah, so just as an FYI for people, this is probably going to be a little bit of a sensitive subject because there is discussion of suicide in this one. So if this is a trigger point for anyone, I would welcome you to maybe skip to the next episode. Yeah. So that's not cool to leave someone your 150-pound dog and not tell them that you're leaving them your 150-pound dog.
Yeah, so Bill Murray's character unfortunately takes his own life, and we learn after the fact that Iris is going to be given the dog. And basically, his wife, Barbara, doesn't like dogs, so as soon as he is no longer in the picture, she is very eager to give away the dog, lies a little bit about the dog in an effort to place the dog with Iris, and also saying, oh, it was his last wish that you have the dog. And she was like, well, he never mentioned this to me, so Barbara's kind of suspect.
Yeah, I guess it is the question of did he actually say that, or did she make it up?
Yeah.
And we obviously don't ever find the answer to that.
Yeah, I agree. So Iris very reluctantly takes Walter's dog, who's the gentleman who passed away, and she's very clear in the fact that her apartment building does not accept dogs, and she lives in New York.
No dogs allowed.
Yeah, no dogs allowed. And so she doesn't want to take this dog, but Barbara, the hag that she is, even though she doesn't like dogs, she's basically said, oh, his grieving kind of got on my nerves. He was laying by the door waiting for Walter to come home, and I didn't like that. So I put him in a kennel.
I mean, in fairness, that bitch can die.
Yeah, Barbara was not a likable character in my book at all. I understand if you're not a dog person and all of a sudden you have this dog, but the fact of the matter is that dog meant everything to the person that you loved. And as an honor and tribute and honoring that person, you got to show the animal some compassion here.
Yeah, that dog was part of your household. Whether you necessarily liked it or not, the dog was part of your household.
And the dog's depression shouldn't just be an annoyance and inconvenience to you, so that you actually rip that dog from his home, from his family, for anything that's familiar, and stick him in a kennel. And by kennel, I don't mean like a kennel like a kennel in the house where people crate train. I mean an actual facility that kennels dogs.
Yeah.
So Iris takes Apollo, the dog, home, and quickly finds out Barbara is a lying liar who lies and said, oh, he doesn't get up on the bed, and he doesn't tear anything up. And Apollo claims Iris's bed out of the gate and won't move. And if you're a 150-pound dog the size of a human, you kind of do what you want.
I mean, so maybe this is coming from the perspective of a guy who's about 225 pounds. I'm reclaiming my bed. Now, I'm not necessarily kicking Apollo off the bed, but I'm getting in that damn bed.
Yeah, what would you do? Reclaim the bed. And I agree with you. It's not a matter of kicking the dog off. It's a matter of getting on the little section of bed that the dog has allowed you, and over the evening, just kind of encroach a little bit and scooch over a little bit in hopes of moving the dog over so you have some more space.
Yeah, I am not sleeping on an air mattress because this dog has come into my house.
Yeah, I think the character of Iris was slightly uncomfortable with dogs. She wasn't a dog person, and I think that showed up in the actions that she took, in the fact that she seemed slightly frightened by the dog, and I think that's probably why she took to the air mattress on the bed.
Because the dog was slightly frightening. Like, it was
he
generally
didn't-
fine until he growled or snapped, like when he took the shirt.
Yeah, so
That's a little frightening.
okay. But in fairness, Iris was unpacking some items, and she had a shirt from Walter. So she was smelling it, kind of reminiscing about him, and the dog came over and grabbed the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the dog.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're not a dog person, you're holding something, and that dog comes and snatches it out of your hand, it can be a little frightening.
Yeah, and Walter obviously still lived on in that shirt and the smell, and Apollo went over and laid on that shirt for the duration of the movie. But another what would you do? Listen, folks, if you're Barbara, who was Walter's wife, and you have a pet that you don't want, lovingly, compassionately find a home for that animal. Keep it if you can and be loving and kind to it. If anything, just as a testament to your love for the individual who passed away. But if for some reason you don't, make sure that dog at least has some familiar things. Like when Apollo got dumped with Iris, like, he didn't have his bowl, he didn't have his toys, he didn't have a bed, he didn't have anything that was familiar to him.
Yeah, why the hell didn't she get the bed and everything? Like I feel like that would have been one of those things. Like,
you have to assume the dog had some sort of bed, because they weren't letting that 150-pound dog sleep in the bed with them.
yeah, bring the bed. He probably would have just settled into his bed since it was familiar.
And if you don't have a bed for your dog, get a bed for your dog.
Oh God, if you don't have a bed for your dog, you shouldn't have a dog.
Like, do you want to lay on the hard floor? No. Make your dog's life comfortable. Give him toys and stimulation and a soft place to rest and blankets to bunch up. Be a good pet parent. Barbara sucked.
Yeah, as you can tell, this is something we care about.
So, on to some what would you do's. So, if you were in Iris's shoes and automatically got just kind of caught off guard with the, hey, I want you to take this dog, which she wasn't expecting, what would you do in that case? And keep in mind that Iris had obstacles along the way. Her apartment didn't allow dogs. They told her you can't have the dog here. Ultimately, she's threatened with eviction, that you can't have the dog. And it appears that that apartment used to be her father's, and then she moved in. And a rent control in New York City is a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Literally, like, passed down to generations.
Yeah.
So...
And if you don't know that, that was the story in Friends. Monica got her grandma's apartment in New York City.
So... I'm actually familiar with the ESA law.
Okay, well, tell us about that.
Emotional support animal. If you're a registered emotional support animal, and you got to be registered and go through you basically have to have a mental health professional write you a letter that says this. But if that's your emotional support animal, they can be in an apartment, literally anywhere they want to go that might otherwise forbid.
And let's jump back in the film for anyone who hasn't seen it. So Iris is really uncomfortable with Apollo's presence. Apollo tears apart her apartment the first time he's left alone.
Yeah, and
she is not digging this dog.
Yeah, and let me say, as a what would you do? I'm sorry, Apollo. As soon as you ripped up that box of research, I am quadrupling, 10 times, 20 times downing my efforts to find a place for Apollo.
Well, it sounds like she was kind of bad at the research and writing anyway, so no loss there. But over time of the course of the movie, she starts to soften a little bit towards Apollo and realizes that, and through the help of the veterinarian, through the help of others, she's starting to realize that as she's grieving the loss of Walter, Apollo is too. And folks, your pets, I don't know, newsflash, they have feelings too.
Yeah, I think too many people, even ones who you could tell love their pets, still treat them more like objects rather than beings. They can get happy, they can get sad.
And they feel deeply connected to you. And sadly, the amazing part of dogs is even when you're crappy to them, they still just want to be with you.
Yeah, you can be a complete piece of shit, and they're still going to want to be with you. So most people would be lucky to have a dog.
Yeah. If everyone was like a dog, the world would be a better place. So over the course of the film, Iris starts to soften toward Apollo, realizing that he's grieving too, and ultimately is trying really hard to find a placement for him until a point comes where the eviction is imminent, and she says, okay, well, I found a rescue in Michigan that will take this dog. She's in New York, and is getting Apollo in the car to relocate him to Michigan when she goes to make a pit stop at a gas station, and someone walks into the snack shop with a dog, and it says no animals allowed except for service animals. And she's like, oh, okay, let me look into this. And that's how the idea of the emotional support pet comes into play. And the irony is, as she's going through this process to meet with a therapist to try and get this process started, she thinks that she is Apollo's emotional support human and not really connecting the fact that she is getting support from the dog.
Yeah, they're not telling the dog it's okay for you to keep your human.
Yeah.
it's quite the opposite. And yeah. I mean,
she was not bright. She also left her dog in the car in New York City. Don't ever leave your dog in the car. People out there do bad things. They will take your animal. They will steal. Yeah. They will toss them out of the car if they steal your car. Don't ever leave a dog unattended in a car.
Yeah, listen, I'm not one to advocate lying to a mental health professional, but if I'm her, I'm just, I'm down all the time, depressed, and this dog's the only thing that keeps me going. I mean, I'm just saying literally whatever the hell I have to say to get that letter. Because the truth is a lot of times that there's a no dogs policy, it's honestly arbitrary. It's a preference of the people who own that property, whether it's a store or an apartment or whatever. They just prefer not to have dogs. Maybe they've had damage issues before, they don't want to deal with it.
They're trying to prevent a problem before it happens.
And if the dog itself isn't a problem, now again, there are dogs and cats that can be problems. And
a small dog can cause just as much, if not more, damage than a large dog.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying that their fears aren't necessarily justified, and I could see where it would be easier to say no, but if you truly know, like, this dog's not going to destroy the apartment, it's not going to do anything to hurt the building.
It only destroyed her.
Yeah,
he only destroyed her stuff.
Or its residents, then I'm okay with the idea of saying, I'm going to get this as an ESA to say screw the system.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is if you have a 150-pound dog, you're going to be good about taking that dog out. You don't want a 150-pound dog pooping or peeing in your house, because that's like having a horse do that.
God, no.
Yeah, and she does briefly try to rehome Apollo with a frenemy of hers, who very quickly starts acting very uppity about the dog and said, oh, well, my friend uses pee pads. I don't want to take the dog out 3 times a day. Can I use pee pads? So obviously this woman knew nothing about dogs, and you could not have a 150-pound dog use a pee pad.
Yeah, and I'd like to know, Andre, what would you do? And this ends up being a callback to a previous movie that we did. If I were Tuesday's parents, I wouldn't name Tuesday Tuesday. And why is it that people are somehow named Tuesday? We've now come across 2 Tuesdays, but I have never heard someone named Monday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday.
Well, there's a Girl Friday.
What was it?
Girl Friday, yeah, in an old film.
Okay.
But no, you're right. Tuesday definitely seems to be a word that's picked up momentum. I do want to see a Saturday. Hi, my name is Saturday.
I mean,
and that was the woman who wanted to use the pee pads.
I mean, I know of a former NFL player whose last name was Saturday.
Yeah.
But when you're a guy, you sometimes get called by your last name. Hey, Saturday.
Yeah, or Thursday. I'd like a Thursday.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, maybe Wednesday. Hump day.
well, there is a Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday Addams.
Yeah. It's from
Okay,
the
yeah,
Addams
you know what?
family.
Never mind. Apparently, these things exist. But was that just the day you were born? Like, we're going to call you, what's the calendar say? Tuesday. Call you Tuesday.
We'll use that as a placeholder. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Tuesday very quickly showed that she knew nothing about animals and didn't want to be inconvenienced by, oh, I have to take the dog out. Yes, you live in a high-rise apartment building. You got to take the dog out. So, fortunately, Iris took the dog back before she left it with Tuesday.
Yeah, somebody that stupid should not own an apartment that nice in New York City.
But pets are responsibilities. Dogs more so than cats, but it's something that, number one, you have to be sure that you are prepared to bring a dog into your life. And number two, don't just get the dog you think is cute. Make sure that that breed and their personality is a good match for you and your lifestyle. Because if you get a dog that is a high energy dog or a really smart dog and you think you're going to be gone from the house for 12 hours a day, that dog's going to get into some mischief.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, on this note, what would you do? I know that Walter took his own life and therefore maybe didn't get his affairs in order. But the fact of the matter is regardless of your age, you should always have your affairs in order. Know who is in charge of what, make sure that people have access to logins and account details and banking accounts and credit cards, and that you have a plan for your children or your pets.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this came up in a previous episode, but as you know, about 4 months or so ago, I had to go to the funeral for my best friend from college. And after talking to his wife, and he had nothing planned out for her for when he was gone, and she was just completely freaking lost. I mean, tried to help her as much as possible, but yeah, have a plan in general is good.
You gotta have a master book. Like these are because so often, sometimes someone doesn't even know how many credit cards their spouse has, and then you don't know until something comes up that it's overdue or canceled or whatnot. It's just so important to get those documents in order.
And honestly, I hate to say it. Listen, I understand suicide. I understand how it is a mental illness. It's not generally a choice someone makes, and you only have to be serious about it one time. A fleeting thought that goes through in a couple minutes can be enough, but that said, if you have that, you probably at least had the thought before. If you commit suicide, you chose to end your life, and you don't have your affairs in order for the other people in your life, kind of fuck you. Like, I get if it's an accident or you got old and just didn't do it or whatever, but
if your mental judgment is off, that's one thing. If you are severely suffering in some sort of having voices or something where you are severely impaired and incapable of rational thought.
I mean, stuff like that tends to come on over time. I don't know. If you ever think that you might have a mental health issue that could be a major mental health issue, and again, everyone should have a plan anyway. Like, this isn't just for the suicidal. Everyone should have a plan. Like, if you are married at all, like have other people in your life, or, I mean, honestly, I'm going to say over the age of 25, and maybe even younger if you actually have somehow been able to accumulate much of a life to that point. You need to have if I'm gone, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is in my past, I've done a lot of animal rescue, and there is no shortage of stories. It is one of the most common stories is someone passes away. The person who passes didn't make any sort of arrangements for their pets. The kids, adult kids, not children, but adult kids be like, yeah, I don't want this dog, I don't want this cat, and they get dumped at the shelter. This is so incredibly common. And the fact of the matter is those dogs, those cats, they're like Apollo. They're grieving. They don't know what's happening. And then in their most fragile time, they get dumped in a chaotic scary place like a shelter where they might not make it out alive. So never assume that the people in your life are going to take and treasure your pet the way that you do.
Yeah, because I was about to say, obviously, I'm an animal person. I know you're an animal person and everything. But from a what would you do ethical perspective, if you dump your dog on someone unsuspectingly and they don't know and they take that dog, I would have no moral or ethical quandary in that case with taking them to a shelter if I needed to. I would attempt to rehome them first, but if it was an untenable situation and I couldn't rehome them, I could be okay with that if I just absolutely did not ever want this dog to begin with. Now, if you wanted the dog, took him in, and then found out later, oh, I don't know about this, that's a different scenario. But if you're like Iris, who's really taking this dog under duress, I wouldn't have had a moral or ethical problem with her taking the dog to the shelter. That said, I don't ever want to see any dog taken to a shelter. I'd love to see every animal have a good home.
And at one point in the film, we see Iris loading up Apollo to take him to a shelter in Michigan that has agreed to take him, and I assume it's a no-kill shelter. And that is one thing that Iris did right in this film, is don't ever blindly pass an animal off to someone or something that's far away, sight unseen. That is another thing that I've seen so much in rescue work that just has some sort of terrible story where they just give an animal to someone, either put it on a plane or a car or meet someone in a parking lot at a Target. Always hand deliver any animal, see the environment that they're going to be in, meet the people, do that before you even agree to place the animal with them so you don't feel awkward about taking the animal back home with you. In this case, in the film, fortunately, Iris had no problem of loading up Apollo and having him leave with her when they left Tuesday's place. But don't ever just be like, oh, I need this problem to go away, and just have some random stranger take an animal, a cat or a dog, a guinea pig or a rabbit or any living creature, because there are bad people out there who do bad things.
Yeah. And my final what would you do if I were the people who made this movie?
Right?
I would not put in a scene at the very end that makes you believe for a few seconds that Apollo is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Only to find out he was sleeping, because that's the thing dogs will do. Like, if they know when they're sick, and if they have an opportunity, if they're physically able to get away
sometimes
from you, they often will, because it's almost like the last act of service. They're trying to spare you having to actually see
maybe
their own death. I've seen this happen in dogs quite a few times.
That's certainly a theory.
So
yeah.
the fact that he was down on the beach away from her was, for me, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what just happened here.
The writers had a fun time manipulating us and like, oh, he's dead. Oh, he's not. Oh, he's dead. Oh, he's not.
Yeah, screw you.
So we know Apollo's fate as a Great Dane. He has a much shorter lifespan as larger dogs do. We see his decline in his aging. We know he's going, but fortunately, he is alive at the end of the film, even though the writers like to have fun with you.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know
otherwise.
when he died, and I'm happy to keep it that way.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.